For a single-seater, it was a very large aircraft. It had to be, to carry the huge Tumansky afterburner turbojets being developed to power it. Design work continued through 1960 that was to fly as fast as this. MiG chose to work in a material largely ignored by Western aircraft. The project's chief designer was Nikolai Matyuk. Lev Shengelaya was his assistant. Matyuk had been at the MiG Bureau since its very first day of existence. This is film taken in the Soviet Union on March the 10th, 1964. It is the first flight of the E-155, the prototype of what was to become the MiG-25. The test pilot for the first flight was the great Alexander Fedotov. As he gets out of the cockpit, he gives some idea of the size of this new Soviet interceptor. This is the test rig used to develop the radar and the weapons control system of the MiG-25. It was entirely new. No existing Soviet radar was powerful enough to meet the Air Force's search and track requirements for the high-speed interceptor. The new radar was called the RP-25 Smerch, which means whirlwind. In the West, it became known as the Foxfire. It was designed to burn through any known jamming system at a range of up to 50 miles. It weighed 1,100 pounds, the largest and heaviest of its kind in the world. The purpose of the Smerch radar was not to detect or track a target. It was designed to provide a final, accurate target fix that could not be jammed, so the pilot and ground controller could position the aircraft for missile launch. In May 1964, just after the first flight of the Soviet E-155 interceptor, the long-awaited XB-70 Valkyrie rolled out of its hangar in Palmdale, California. By now, it was no longer a threat to the Soviets. It had been threat of cancellation had hung around the Valkyrie project for some time. It was cancelled for the first time in 1959, and then reinstated if its to-air missiles were more advanced than the West had suspected. Another was that the growth of ballistic missile technology was forcing a reassessment of long-range strategic bombing. And a third was that the Valkyrie project was extremely expensive. The installation of the XB-70 project might well have killed the MiG Mach-3 interceptor, but it didn't. Work proceeded for several reasons. One was that the XB existing supersonic bomber, the B-58 Hustler. There's little doubt, too, that the Soviets knew of the development of the YF-12 interceptor and its reconnaissance derivative, the SR-71A Blackbird. Like the YF forms, it was initially developed in association with the CIA, which had operated the U-2 spy flights using non-military pilots. When in 1962, the Strategic Air Command took control of spy flights from the CIA. And the reasoning at the time was that a civilian pilot shot down on a spy mission may well be executed as a spy. A military pilot, on the other hand, would be considered to be doing his job. When the Blackbird went into service in 1966, it was with the Strategic Air Command of the United States Air Force. In March 1965, his bureau made the first public announcement of performance figures achieved by the MiG-25 prototype. It had flown around a closed 1,000-kilometer anywhere, even in the Soviet Union. This confusion persisted till 1972, and the Soviets did nothing to clarify it. Large nose compartment and a limited capability side-looking radar. The later electronic intelligence version had no cameras, it relied on a large number of electronic sensors and a more powerful radar. The reconnaissance. When the F-15 emerged, it was an extraordinary machine, a genuine air superiority fighter, also capable of ground. The F-15. In Russia, the first service models were being introduced into Soviet Air Force squadrons. The American military still did not understand the true nature of the Foxbat, but they did have extremely high expectations of their own new superfighter, paid for, a genuine superfighter. Very early in its career, the F-15 set out to defeat the Foxbat, not in combat, but in the field of time to climb records, where an aircraft tries to reach a given altitude in the shortest possible. MiG-25s had been in service for almost 4 years, but still no one in the West had seen one up existing. Then, on September the 6th, a MiG-25 took off from the Sakharovka Air Base at Vladivostok and landed, quite unexpectedly, at a Japanese airport. Its pilot, Viktor Belyanko, had defected. Western authorities examined it minutely. Some of the myths were at last dispelled. Alexander Fedotov, including a world absolute altitude record of almost 121,000 feet, which still stands. The MiG-25's enormous thrust-to-weight ratio made it perfect for climbing almost straight up. Boris Orlov reached 64,000 feet in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Pyotr Ostenko reached 96,000 feet in 3 minutes. Throughout the 1970s, upgraded and improved versions of the MiG-25 were introduced into service. They were also supplied to a number of foreign countries: Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Syria, Iraq, and India. All bought MiG-25s from the Soviet Union. The MiG-25 is a deadly weapon, but it is loved in the Soviet Air Force for a reason nothing to do with its capability as an interceptor or reconnaissance aircraft. Its Russian nickname is Spyorkovos, the alcohol carrier, because it carries 300 liters of pure alcohol for the cooling system. At outlying air... When Rostislav Belyakov took over the MiG Design Bureau from Artyom Mikoyan, he faced a new problem. The MiG-25 had been designed to counter the high-altitude Mach 3 B-70 Valkyrie. The Valkyrie had never gone into service, but Soviet fighters, missiles and radar systems were generally biased to detect and intercept high-altitude derivative was developed. Low-flying bombers like the B-1 and the B-1B need to be detected by look-down radar that can see a target against the ground. In the late 70s, Soviet authorities would confront them, and the intakes had to be redesigned and enlarged. Russian sources say that in the mid-80s, Soviet bases on the Kamchatka Peninsula were feeling pressure from Japanese and American flights close to Soviet airspace. A unit of MiG-31s was sent there, and after they'd been in service for a short time, the number of flights close to the border decreased dramatically. The MiG-25 was not a dogfighter. Neither is its descendant, the MiG-31. Its power
and personal hardship The aerospace industry has endured it all. The struggles, the victories, the stories are next. Wings over the world on the Discovery Wings channel.